is, all right, so the book comes out. I want to get to a second and why it picked up so much coverage. But sticking with what he's saying, in the end, what is he pushing towards? Like, what is the program beyond a descriptive program?
I think what is provocative about Against the Machine in particular, and you see this going back in his other work, but in particular really acutely in Against the Machine, is that there is no program. He is saying really clearly, he's a bit of a fatalist, I think, in a certain way. I think this is partly probably informed by his Christianity, where it's sort of like a leave to Caesar what is Caesar's kind of thing. But he really does think probably not a whole lot we can do to sort of like at a macro level resist the pace of technology. If you just like look at the course of human history, it is just like a relentless, march forward of this machine. And so the task at hand is to figure out like where to draw your limits. And that's kind of where he sort of ends, is like, you might not agree with everything I say here about transgenderism or about transhumanism or about like X, Y, or Z, but like the question you need to ask yourself is like, where are my personal limits? Where am I going to say, no, like this intrusion of technology into my life is too much? Maybe it's, I'm going to get rid of my smartphone, or I'm not going to let my kids have screens. Maybe if you live in a city, and this is where I think he's like a really, there's a way in which he has this romantic streak, but at the same time, he's kind of pragmatic. He's like, look, the limits you can draw if you are a professional class guy with a laptop job in a city, the limits you're going to be able to draw are different than maybe what I can draw on my subsistence farm. Maybe you need your smartphone to work. Maybe that's not the limit to draw. But he is really trying to say, like, we probably can't stop the progress of this thing, but we can create these pockets of resistance in our own personal lives where we are trying to carve out some space for sort of, fundamentally human modes of living that aren't just drenched with the sort of, march of technology. So I think it's a really anti-program book,
So and in his life is supposed to be, let's just give an example of that to an extreme.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yes.
If you're going to get fitness advice, you kind of want the guy who's in incredible shape, even though you're like, look, I can't,
right.
I'm not going to look like the Peloton instructor because they do this professionally,
right,
but I really want someone who looks like the Peloton instructor, giving me the advice, and that maybe I'm going to exercise more.
Yeah.
Even if not. So I'll make sure I have all of his limits right. So he lives in Ireland, Galway County somewhere. He's on a farm. They grow their own food.
Kids are homeschooled.
Kids, no smartphones. He secretly makes his living, not secretly, but Substack, I
ironically,
assume. Yeah. But he kind of leans into that a little bit, or like he doesn't avoid it. He's like, I'm on here. I don't know. It's all terrible. Like, I mean, he's not like running from it. He's not trying to justify it. And he's Orthodox Christian, used to be Wiccan. He likes to be outside. So nature's really important. He spends a lot of time outside. And he's Orthodox Christian, so he's sort of, which is a more, that along with Catholicism are the two real sort of ritualistic Christian denominations. So it's really like heavy on ritual denomination so he's trying to connect to whatever, the transcendent and find these like deeper, more mystical, spiritual meanings in his life. That's basically, okay.
Yeah.